Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. So today we are going to cover create a our very first microservice app. So in this video, it won't be a full-fledged microservice app. First, we will try to create a very simple app, get it up and running, and in the upcoming following videos, we will try to convert it into a microservice. So let's get started. So the first thing what we'll do is we'll go to Spring Initializer. So as I have mentioned in the introductory video that we will be using Spring uh, along with Java. So here we go. So and Gradle, I would prefer Gradle over Maven, but you can go with Maven also. Should not make a big difference. So let's give it some name. Test dot tutorial uh, microservice demo. Yep, looks good. Java 8. I'm not going to use anything of Java 11. So, yep. Now let's add the dependencies. We'll be using uh, web web service starter web or MVC basically. Then what we would need is Jpa for storing data. Yep, and what type of DB we will be using is PostgreSQL. So we need the connector for Postgres. So I think we have to separate. We will define it separately, and yeah, Lombok also. So Lombok is a developer tool which will reduce if we use that, we don't need to create the getters and setters. With just simple few annotations, we can do with all the getters and setter repetitive codes and all. So that's why we'll be using Lombok. And yep, that's more about it. And um, yeah, let's generate. Okay, this has been created. Let's extract. Here it is. Let us open IntelliJ. In the meantime, let me copy the URL. So this is done. New project from existing sources. We give the path. Yep. In background. Okay, here it is. So that has basically provided as a skeleton for our application. So here are all the details. Like this application.properties, and this is the entry point for our application. So first of all, let us start with a controller. Okay, I think this is still don't need this. Okay, let the indices get updated. So the first time when I run it may take some time, but after that it should be fine. So as you can see, it is downloading, I think, some HTTP client, some libraries. So I'll pause the video now and I'll come back once all the downloading is done. Okay, so this has been downloaded. All the dependencies are downloaded. Now let us start. So the first we were working on this. Let me just quickly open the diagram. So we said that we will be working on this customer management first. Um, so let's go there. So let me just rename this thing to mm, customer management tab. So this is starting point, and it has, as you can see, this has already created the test. Okay, so I think we need to rename the test as well. Here in this one also we have to rename it to customer management. Let's give a hyphen here. Root project name. Okay, done. Now let us start with a controller package. So let's name it customer controller. Annotate this with REST controller. Let us give a request mapping. So like so anything with slash customer will this controller will get invoked. So what I usually prefer is like to have one basic dummy method just to check uh, alive or not. So this should return so so the purpose of basically putting this method is like whenever we deploy into containers and all, it's quite helpful to just invoke this slash customer and see whether this thing works or not. So if it works, if we put a custom slash alive URL, it should give me a alive string. So so let's just quickly test this thing. So I'm just running this thing. Let me open Postman. So in Spring Boot default port number is 8080. Okay, so there are some issues it seems. So let's see what is that. Okay, so this is expecting some database. We haven't installed the database yet, so it's expecting some database here. So as of now, let me do one thing. Let me quickly add one H2 dependency here. Later we will shift it to Postgres. So I think the H2 dependency will be here. Maven Central H2. Let's get the latest one. Gradle. Okay. So let's just for now keep it implementation itself because okay. Even though usually H2 is meant for testing purpose only, so we will be just testing it once the URL and later we will shift to PostgreSQL. Okay, so now what it says, okay, I think this is the shorter notation. So I think let's reload this thing. What does it say? Line 25. Okay, there is something. Okay. Okay, this is done. Let's run this thing again. Okay, this is started. So let me just open this Postman and hit the URL customer. As you can see, we are getting a response alive. So that means our controller is working. Okay, now let's create some real methods. So the first one is like um, so this one will be creating a customer. So it will expect customer object, and it should basically save the object db and then return it. Okay, so we haven't created any classes, so let us just quickly create one customer class. So I prefer it to be uh, okay, one thing I would prefer is like so this is the package, so I would prefer this to be a customer package. Okay, so the whole thing is in under customer package. We have this controller, we have this main starting app, and we have this customer object. So it can have like string first name, last name, it can have ID. So let's keep it simple. As I was mentioning in the previous video that we are going to use Lombok for this one. So we will be okay. Let's just quickly check if Lombok is added here. Yeah, and in that case, we need to add the annotation processor also here in the settings. Yeah, annotation processor, enable annotation processing, apply. Okay, now let's. So what I'm going to throw here, since this is returns an optional thing, so what I'll do is I'll just uh, uh, if it is not null, then I'm going to throw an exception here, or else throw uh, found. Uh, and like then if it is present, then I'm going to do a map. So we get the entity and we'll use the mapper to map this one. Okay, so this is done. All we need to do is create one exception class, uh, customer dot exception package. In fact, I don't want this exception package to be within this customer because this is more of a generic exception. So I prefer it to be within the exception pack, like outside the customer package. Resource not found. Apps exception. Okay, done. We will work on this exception package later, how we can customize it. But for now, just create a constructor. Let me just generate this one. Done. Resource not found yet. Looks good. Okay. And here we would need one. Okay, either we need to pass on a message or okay, so let's just for now create one no argument constructor as well. Uh, we will see to it like it's not suggested how we can pass on the message, exact message with the error code and all. We'll see it later because otherwise this video will get extended quite a bit. So yeah, so let's just throw the exception here. Resource not found. In fact, I do not like this to be a checked exception. I would prefer it to be a runtime exception. Okay. Yep. So now let's just restart the application. Let's open the Postman. The server has started. Let's just hit it. So we are getting this one. Let's try with a get request now. Slash /1. Okay, what are we getting here? ID must not be null. Okay, again I forgot the path variable here. To restart this application. Okay, so let's save this one again. Saved it in the next window. Let's hit get. Okay, here we are getting get. Hit it again. Okay, so now for this customer application, these two endpoints are working fine. We are able to save. We are able to. Let's try with another one more save. Okay, this is with ID2. Let's try with ID2. Okay, we are getting this one from here as well. This looks fine. So the basic uh, customer application with the local Spring Boot app works fine. Let's see what was our agenda for this one. So agenda was like to get up and running a customer management service here with basic Spring Boot app. And what we're going to do right now here is add um, Postgres dependencies here. Okay. So to now we will be installing the Postgres. So I prefer a Docker instance here. So what we will do is we will go to hub.docker.com and here search for Postgres. We go here and we see this is the line to save. So what I prefer over here is like open your terminal. So we can just use the Docker run. Minus name, I tend to give this as a Postgres, and the password value, I prefer to give it as Postgres itself. minus D, which means it will run it in detached mode, means you will not get to see any logs here. And this is the Postgres. By default, it will take the latest tag. And I also prefer to pass on the port number so that we can connect from outside. So what this will do is it will map the container port 5432 to the host port 5432, and we can connect from this system using this 5432 port. So I'm not going to execute this script because I already have this Postgres thing configured in my system. If I just show you, I already have this thing configured in my system. So even though I think it's 12.4, but latest is 13. So yeah, it should not make a difference. So you can execute this line to install the Postgres in your system. Okay. Now, once this is installed, let's configure our application properties. Yeah. So this application.properties, we can give it as application.yml as well. Like I prefer to use YML files compared to application.property files. So let's give it a port number to our server. So we are using 80. Let's keep it like that, and then let's configure the data source spring dot data source, and first thing is URL. So the URL will be jdbc colon uh, GraSQL. Did I give PostgreSQL? And then you will have like you have to give the host which is localhost at this moment. So, but I tend to pass it as an environment variable. So I'll give this db host and db port. The values I will be passing as environment variables so that when we later containerize it, it is dynamic. And then the db. So again, this is also I prefer to make it dynamic, which is like uh, Postgres DB name, something like that. And then what else? So username and password. So username and password also will be taken from the environment variables. Okay, this is done. Now let's do some Jpa configuration. So first thing I prefer is to show SQL for debugging purpose. In production, when we run it in production, we will not enable it, but for now we can enable it in testing. So we have to use the database platform, which is what g dot, what was that? Hibernate suggestion is not coming. Hibernate dot Postgres dialect SQL dialect. I think this value actually you can get it from Spring Boot documentation here. So first time when I did it, I was confused with what will be the exact value. I got it from Spring Doc. Okay, and we have to set the Hibernate properties like format SQL to true and HBM to DDL dot auto to. So basically what this says tells is like if we modify our entities and all, it will automatically update the table in the database. Yep. So let's just quickly see if we have mm, uh, our Postgres up and running or not. So before that, let me start my Postgres container. Okay, so this is a database tool which I use to connect to DBs. dbeaver is the name. Okay, I've started my Postgres container. Now let's see if it connects. Yeah, it got connected. Let's see the port numbers here. So the name of this tool is dbeaver. You can see it. It's a very handy tool. It works with MySQL or any other database. So as you can see, the name suggests Universal Database Manager. I really like this one. This this version number. So we can just copy this from here. org.postgresql. Don't need the version number, and I prefer to use the shorthand notation. So I'm going to delete this one. Okay. Now let's do the graded refresh. I think it's downloading the connector. I'll pause the video here and come back once it is downloaded. So that the dependencies are downloaded now. So let's just run this application and see whether it starts up properly. Okay, so there is some error. What is it? Postgres user. Are we not passing the variables user? Oops, I think I gave this thing as username, so it skipped the value. Okay, let's rerun it. Yeah, see, I gave the wrong value there. So it has started. Let's run our postman thing. It's saved with ID 28. Let's try get of 28. Okay, so this works. Let's quickly check the database using this one, whether we have it persisted properly or not. Tables, customer entity. Uh, where is the data? Okay. So 26, 28, these are the two. I think this probably was created from the earlier. Let's just delete from customer entity. So let's hit a post request. Okay, it created with 29. Let's hit this with 29. This is there. Let's see. We have the data. Okay, we have. Let's try with one more data. Test cust one. Cust one. Okay, this is with 30. Let's try with 30. It's here. Let's check the DB. Okay, so this is persisting. So what we have, so this is what we have done till now, and in this video we'll try to keep it short till at this point only, otherwise video is getting stretched a bit. So what all things we have covered: we created a very simple app, we created some controller using Spring Boot, and we created some service, repos, entities, mapping. So using Spring Data, we created this repos. We are connecting to the database. We are able to save and retrieve data. So that's what we have done till now. And in the next or the upcoming videos, what we are gonna try is like um, we will, uh, as you can see, we will try to containerize it uh, uh, using Docker. Okay, so that's it for now in this video. Thank you.